this filmmaker in their very first film
has come of age as a filmmaker and will prove to be a filmmaker for the ages.
This will not be the last time you guys walk to a podium.
So it is my honor to present this Vanguard Award to Marielle Heller,
Ryan Coogler,
Boots Riley,
Dee Reese,
Lulu Wang.
Congratulations, Radha.
Let this film be a testament that anything is possible and that your story matters.
The grand jury prize goes to Ahmir Questlove Thompson.
Wow, this is beyond dreams coming true.
This year's US Grand Jury Prize Dramatic goes to Siân Heder.
I mean, this movie was just an incredible experience to make. Thank you, Sundance.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Marielle Heller. I'm the founding Senior Director of Artist Programs for the Sundance Institute. And as a visual descriptive, I am a woman with fair complexion, brown blonde hair, just cut, a little too short for my taste, wearing a blue sweater and sitting in front of a painting and green wall. And I feel like I'm surrounded by flowers, which makes me very happy. I'm joining you today from the Los Angeles, California area, which is the unceded territories of the Tongva, Tataviam, and Chumash tribes. These communities are still present on this land and have been, still are, and will always be the traditional keepers of this territory. And we thank them for allowing us to be here. We encourage you to find out what native lands you are joining us from by using the link we are now dropping in the chat. So please look at the link. Please add where you are and where you're coming from for this event. All right, thank you. I'm excited to welcome our Sundance family, all of you out there, to our Vanguard Award evening, our annual celebration of groundbreaking artists. This year, we honor two unique storytellers making visionary independent films, Siân Heder for her fiction film CODA, and Ahmir Questlove Thompson for his nonfiction film Summer of Soul, or, oh my God, losing my place, or When the Revolution Can't Be Televised. For the last decade, the Vanguard Award has recognized the remarkable work of Ryan Coogler, Marielle Heller, Lulu Wang, Boots Riley, Damien Chazelle, Benh Zeitlin, Dee Reese, and Radha Blank. What an amazing lineup of artists. Our partner Acura stands with us in recognizing the key role of artistry in filmmaking and has supported the Vanguard Award since 2015. Our huge gratitude goes out to Acura, and also our thanks to Variety, Apple Original Films, and Onyx Collective, Searchlight Pictures, and Hulu for the support of this evening and these films going forward. Robert Redford founded the Institute 40 years ago. I was there. It was amazing to support these artists who are telling stories from their distinctive perspectives and wide range of experiences and backgrounds. And as Redford noted, every artist holds a mirror to their piece of the universe to make the hidden visible, the unknown familiar. Even though we have been separated, we're still bound together. We dream under the same sky filled with stardust. At the Sundance Institute, we will always stand up for the idea that stories matter, words matter, inclusion and equity matters. The truth matters, and storytellers have the power and the opportunity to make meaning and impact on the real world. Over these years, Sundance has supported thousands of singular artists across a broad spectrum of programs, from our signature labs to the Sundance Film Festival and tonight's celebratory event. This has been our absolute privilege in the work that we do. We are proud to call Siân and Ahmir Sundance alum. Siân premiered her acclaimed debut feature, Tallulah, at our 2016 festival. That same year, she participated in our Film 2 initiative, a program created to foster support of a second feature. And this year, audiences fell in love with CODA the story of a 17-year-old hearing daughter of deaf adults, navigating her identity, her passions, and family expectations. For his debut documentary feature, Ahmir brought Summer of Soul to the 2021 festival. Using his exceptional talents as a musician, songwriter, DJ, author, and music journalist, he invited audiences to experience an epic event in Harlem 1969 that celebrated Black music, history, culture, and fashion. Summer of Soul and CODA embrace music as a means of transformation, and both bring visibility to the unseen and unheard, coming alive with heart and deep resonance. CODA played at in the US Dramatic Competition and was recognized with the Audience Award, the Directing Award, the Special Jury Prize for Ensemble Cast, and the Grand Jury Prize, which is amazing. And Summer of Soul played in the US Documentary section and was honored with the Audience Award and the US Grand Jury Prize, also amazing. Tonight, we honor them again. We're incredibly excited to have two extraordinary artists as presenters, Marlee Matlin to present the award to Sean, and Common to present the award to Ahmir. To kick off this evening, our esteemed alum, Radha Blank, will lead a conversation with Sean, and then Dee Reese will sit down with Ahmir. So let's get started. Siân Heder recently made a multi-year overall deal with Apple, who acquired distribution for CODA at our festival. She's currently executive producer and showrunner on the series Little America for Apple TV+. She previously wrote and produced 3 seasons of the award-winning Netflix series Orange is the New Black, and was a writer on Men of a Certain Age, which earned her a Peabody Award. And in her upcoming work, Siân will write, direct, and produce Being Human, a memoir about the life of disability rights activist Judith Heumann, who was featured in the Oscar-nominated documentary Crip Camp. And she will also write and direct a feature adaptation of the novel Impossible by Sarah Lotz. So I'm now excited to welcome Radha Blank for a conversation with Siân. Last year, we honored Radha with the Vanguard Award, and tonight's celebration gives us an opportunity to bring her back. She said, bring me back next year, and we did it. Here she is. Radha is a beloved Sundance alum. She's the writer-director of the award-winning, culture-shifting, hilarious, and resonant The 40-Year-Old Version. Please welcome Radha Blank.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Hello, Michelle. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I will pay you off later. My name is Radha Blank, and by description, I look damn good. I've got on a head wrap, some big bangle earrings, my cheekbones are popping, the lips are red. I have on a black dress, and if you can't tell by my vernacular and tone, I'm African-American. Really happy to be here back at the Vanguard Award and to be celebrating these amazing filmmakers. When I saw CODA, I was really struck by how personal, how potent, and how powerful it was. And it made me think of just the many ways that we can express ourselves. And so we're here to celebrate an amazing filmmaker in Siân Heder. And let's welcome Siân. Am I talking too fast?
No. Hi, Radha.
Hi, it's so wonderful to meet you. Congratulations on this amazing film, and congratulations on getting the Vanguard this year.
Thank you. I'll describe myself too. I'm Siân Heder. I'm a white woman with blonde hair to my shoulders and a flowered-ish dress on, sitting in front of a plant and a photo.
Awesome. What does it feel to be here in this moment with your wonderful film?
I mean, Sundance was amazing this year. I think I went in not knowing what to expect. I think, we'd all been in a pandemic for a year and a half. It felt like a year going into a virtual festival. I didn't know what that was going to mean. I think I had all kinds of fears of maybe the movie would go nowhere or maybe it wouldn't find a life. And I think, honestly, the process of making the film was incredible and life-changing as an artist and a director, and in a way I'd kind of made my peace with maybe that's enough, that we had this incredible process of making the film, and then to watch it come out in the world and the reception that it's had, particularly at Sundance, has just been such a joy. Honestly, it's really amazing. I think that it's resonated with people in this way and started the conversations that it has, and I feel very grateful and lucky.
Awesome. Well, Sean, we're going to continue our conversation. We just whet people's appetite, but how about we take a look at a clip from Sean's wonderful film, CODA.
Maybe we even call them herring bitches.
Who knew, communication between a deaf person and a non-deaf person could be so funny? Like, that was the thing I think I was delighted by, was that there was humor. I mean, the dad's balls alone. There's
they
just
are like that.
And I learned something from your movie. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the sign for balls, everybody.
So that's just me kind of just kvetching and just saying, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this film, and I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about your process of developing. Like, did you develop the film with deaf actors? Like, how did you take it from your script to the actual film?
Well, it was an interesting process because I was an outsider coming into this community. And so I felt an incredible responsibility in telling this story, that I had to put a team around me, that I couldn't tell it alone. I was coming in with a hearing perspective. I was outside of deaf culture. And so originally with the writing stage, it involved a lot of research, and my research was mostly people, meeting people, making friends. I started studying ASL. I started going to Deaf West Theater, and that's where I first saw Troy Kotzer was on stage in an Edward Albee play. And I was like, this guy's amazing. Oh my God, I need to be in my film. And so honestly, a lot of it was talking to CODAs and reading deaf writers and just digging into that as I was writing. But I always knew the script was going to evolve because it had to. I mean, I was writing in English. I knew that half the movie was going to be in ASL, and that process alone was going to be a whole journey to find out, how the language and dialogue lived in sign. So I had two really amazing collaborators, my directors of ASL, Anne Thomasetti and Alexandria Wales. And Alexandria did the translation of the script with me, where we sat, for 5 hours and we went through every line of dialogue and we would discuss what it meant, like what each line meant, because it wasn't a one-to-one translation, to choose the signs and discover how kind of emotions lived in that language. And so we did a whole translation, and then I had this incredible cast come on. I mean, Marley was the first person that I cast, and she was an incredible collaborator, honestly, and fighter with me, and fighting to have, you know, a deaf cast and mostly unknown cast. And so we really, then on set, it became a real process and collaboration and discussion as to, you know, who this family was and how they signed together. And, you know, Troy is a crazy, amazing improviser. So any joke that I wrote, he took and went like 10 steps further than I ever thought it could go. And it came alive visually in a way that was just so exciting and surprising. And so for me, it was just coming in with kind of like an open heart and knowing what I didn't know, and putting people around me who had lived the experience, and just trying to kind of capture this family as, you know, who they were in this small fishing town, and trying to get all those little pieces right.
Well, thanks for sharing that, because I was very curious as to how you arrived at this family in this particular town. Like, the environment could have been anywhere, but you decided it was a fishing family. How did you get there?
Well, I knew that town really well. So I grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is about 50 minutes away from Gloucester. And we would go up to Gloucester in the summer because we had family friends that lived there. And it was just the coolest, you know, most people, you know, will live in Boston or like vacationing on the Cape, and Gloucester is like a funkier town. It has a mix of like being this beautiful, picturesque kind of New England Cape Ann town, but it's also very gritty and working class. And it really was a fishing town, and the fishing industry has, you know, been killed there. So it's gone from having 700 boats out on the harbor to having 6 boats out on the harbor fishing. And so a lot of that waterfront is, you know, old fish processing plants that are now abandoned warehouses. And a lot of that industry and community has died. And thinking about looking at kind of working class America and a kind of livelihood that gets passed down from generation to generation, and this is the generation where it has to stop because it doesn't exist anymore. And so that was a very compelling conflict to put this family in. And also, like, I know those Gloucester guys, and it's just such a specific part of Boston, and I just felt like it would be a great world to imagine Frank Rossi as this, you know, dragger fisher in Gloucester. But that part too involved a lot of like me hanging out in Gloucester and going to the local fishing bars where I felt like I was going to get my ass kicked after 9 o'clock, and hanging out and talking to those guys and convincing them to let me out on their boats to go fishing with them and see how they did that whole process. And then my actors going out and working with local fishermen to learn how to run that boat and learn the ropes. And it was just, I think the town was an exciting experience because so rarely do you get to shoot in the place that you wrote something for.
Yes.
And so to get to explore the town as a real character was so exciting for me. I mean, I have so many childhood memories that are in the movie. Like, I used to jump off those quarry cliffs that those jump off in the movie. Like, I remember sitting up there all day, like trying to will myself off of these 40-foot cliffs because it was so exciting. And so I think a lot of those things, and getting to explore the visuals of this town that had all this sentimental value for me, was actually really special. And I also got to know the place, I think, in a way that I hadn't before.
Awesome. I think that for the aspiring filmmakers watching you in this moment, you know, that there are a lot of people are probably like projecting their dreams on you and saying, I want to be where Sean is. But I'm also a fan of like demystifying the process of filmmakers so that we're not living in a romantic world. Can you talk about some of the challenges in making a film like this, where there's a young woman as the lead? It takes place in a fishing town that people may not, you know, be familiar with. And people may know who Marielle Heller is, but they may not know the rest of your cast. Like, what were some of the challenges that you met in making this movie?
Well, I mean, my journey is, whenever I'd go talk to filmmakers or film students, I'm like, you know, I made a short film that launched my career, and then it took me 9 years to get my first feature made. So I'm like, oh no, don't worry. It happens overnight. You make like a hit short, and then you spend like almost a decade making your first movie. So yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult when you know that like the integrity of your story relies on casting the right people. And that a lot of times as a filmmaker, you're asked to make compromises to get your movie made that will ultimately compromise your movie to a place that it shouldn't be made. And so those are always really hard decisions to make when you're starting out, because I think everybody's hungry to try to, you know, get your project going and get it off the ground. And I think, like I said, there were a lot of battles to go like, no, there's no world in which I'm making this movie without deaf actors playing these deaf characters.
Right.
And also, I want my 17-year-old girl to be a 17-year-old girl. And I would love it if she could sing her ass off. So people believed in that talent and could sign fluently and look like a local, you know, like a native signer. And so all of those things were so important to me. And yet it means sometimes that you're sitting on your project and going, this movie might never get made. And in a way, I have to be okay with that because I know that there's the right way to make it. And so for me, it was a little bit about letting go of that. Like if I couldn't make it the way I wanted to make it, then it shouldn't be made at all. And maybe the time I spent writing it and working on it meant that it was just going to be that process and it was going to sit somewhere. And then of course it started out as a studio movie and got taken out of the studio and we made it independently. And it was like a very gritty, crazy shoot where we were, you know, didn't have enough time or enough money. And we were out on fishing boats shooting documentary style to get this, capture this action. But the movie feels real and authentic and it feels the way I wanted it to feel. And so then that fight all feels so inevitable at the end of the day and like the right thing to have done. But when you're in it, it's really hard to, I think, go, well, I could lose this project, but it's worth it to lose it because I think these things are that important.
I completely understand. I mean, I made a black and white independent film last year and
an amazing film that I love.
Oh, thank you so much. And there were so many things that people, I think that they thought they were helping, honestly, but kind of discouraged me from doing the black and white of it all, shooting on film, being at the center of the storytelling. And I'm in alignment with you when I say that those are the things that make our films our films. It's so funny because as I watched your film, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, I wanted more of that family. I wanted more of the comedy between them. Is there a world where this is like a TV show or something like that, or a sequel?
I thought about it. I mean, I was walking around Gloucester last summer because I ended up buying a place with my mom there. I loved being there so much when I was there. And I literally was expecting to run into them. Like I felt like the Rossies lived in that town and I think like I'm gonna like bump into them at like the Market Basket or something. But yeah, it's interesting what happened. I mean, I really think we became a family while we were filming in a way that was so unexpected, and the chemistry created on camera was real because it was sort of the bonding that actually happened on set with this group of people. So anything I could do to keep working with this group of people, I would want to do. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Where would it be though? Berkeley after she goes out? It's a little tricky.
Either way, I think it spoke to this my desire, my need to see deaf actors more often. Like I wanted to keep coming back to this world. I didn't miss a beat, you know, just in terms of the storytelling and the plot. So again, congratulations to you, but really congrats on making a great film and congratulations on getting the Vanguard this year. You're very deserving and welcome to the club, I guess.
Well, I'm happy to follow in your footsteps. That is a total honor.
Great.
Enjoy the rest of your night, Sean.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Radha. Beautiful conversation. I'm voting for a TV series, Sean. I want to spend more time with the family.
That'll be our sidebar. We'll have to brainstorm that after this ceremony.
Let's do it. All right. Well, it's now my honor to introduce Marlee Matlin. I had the experience many years ago of watching Marlee as the lead of the 1986 film, Children of a Lesser God. Her performance was gorgeous, emotionally raw, simply unforgettable. And she was recognized with the Academy Award for Best Actress. Marley went on to work in series television, where she received multiple Emmy nominations. She has also been recognized for her work as a children's author and her consistent and change-making activism for the deaf community. It is my incredible privilege to welcome Academy Award-winning actress and one of the beautiful stars of CODA, Marielle Heller. Please join us.
Hi there. Hi there. Whoa. Thank you so much, Michelle, for that introduction. Before I go further, I want to describe myself. I'm a white woman with a tan shirt, blue jacket, and I'm wearing a necklace that has the sign for I love you. And behind me is a cabinet with family photos, plates, and Mr. Oscar. Thank you, everyone who's joined in our Zoom session today in this program. It really is lovely to be with all of you to present an amazing award, the Vanguard Award, to Siân Heder. When I first met Siân, I recall thinking, she's very chill, she's cool, and very normal. And at the same time, she was interesting in her conversation with me. She immediately fingerspelled her name when she introduced herself, and that certainly was impressive to me. And we sat and had a discussion about her script. And I told her how much I loved the story, how much I had to be in it, and how much I wanted to work with her, because I was a fan of hers from her film Tallulah. So she was just somebody I wanted to work with. And CODA, I believed in the script, I believed in her vision, I believed in her writing, and I believed that she would work the best she could to provide the best story that could be told, a beautiful story. She has a vision as a director, but she's also an actor's director. She trusts her actors, she communicates with her actors, she communicates with everyone involved in the filmmaking process. In other words, she's fearless. She does her homework, and she really believes in our culture, in our community, and the story that she was planning to tell. Everything that had to do with this movie, she really believed in. And it's because of her that we were able to bring the story to life from the printed word to the screen. And I'm so honored to have worked with her, and I look forward to working many, many more times with her. So congratulations, Siân. You deserve nothing but the very, very best in everything. Congratulations, I love you.
Marielle, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mwah.
Can I accept my award now, you guys? Because I actually have it right here. I'm gonna just pretend that you gave it to me, Marielle.
Here it is. I love you, Siân, I love you.
Thank you, Marielle. Thank you so much. I want to thank Sundance for this incredible award. Sundance has been such a support for me for my entire career, honestly, starting with my first feature, Tallulah, and then through the labs, and with this year's Sundance, where they pulled off an amazing virtual festival. And now this just feels like extra special. And I feel so honored and grateful to be in the company of all the filmmakers that I admire so much who have won this award in the past. And I love the idea of a Vanguard Award, particularly as it relates to CODA, because the word Vanguard implies being leaders of a new movement of ideas. But there's also this military term, meaning of Vanguard, which is that the Vanguard is the foremost part of an advancing army. And that is my hope for what CODA is. I really hope that CODA is like this scout soldier that is followed by an army of artists, deaf and disabled actors, creators, filmmakers. And I hope that these artists will finally have an opportunity to be seen and be heard. This movie is just one story, and this community has so many stories that are rich and entertaining and funny and moving. And so that my hope is this film can, and the way that we made this film, can kind of kick open the door a little bit more and invite, make room so that more people can walk through. I'm so grateful to my actors and my crew, particularly my deaf collaborators. I was an outsider coming into this community, and I would not have been able to tell this story without the team that I had around me. So thank you to Marley and Daniel and Troy and my ASL directors, Anne and Alexandria. Thank you for trusting me to honor a culture and experience that was not my own. And I remember talking to Jack Jason, who is voicing for Marley, about his experience growing up as a CODA. And he told me that he felt like, most of the time, he felt like the wire between two telephone poles, like between these two worlds, carrying the current from one pole to another. And the image of being that wire really moved me, because both in thinking about Ruby, my character, but also because it captured how I feel as a writer and a filmmaker. I get to be the current that carries the story along the wire and out into the world. And for me, filmmaking is about empathy and getting to imagine what it's like to be somebody else. And making CODA and discovering our process on this movie was the most exciting and rewarding experience that I've ever had. And I'm asked all the time about the challenges of making a movie like this, how I worked with the deaf cast and how we communicated on set. And the question is so insane to me, because all of movie making is problem solving. And we figure out how to do all kinds of things. We set fire to buildings, and we do massive stunts, and King Kong fights Godzilla, or maybe they don't fight, whatever. I have not seen that movie. But the creativity required to create an accessible set is so small in relation to all of the other things that we pull off in movie making. And it didn't feel like a challenge. It felt like this massive creative opportunity. Directing with my body and my hands and my face, writing a joke and then watching Troy just take off with that joke in such an inventive and hilarious way, and allowing my actors space to play and improvise and live authentically within their own culture is what made these characters and this story feel so real and resonant. So I hope that more filmmakers and writers step outside of their comfort zones and allow space for these kinds of collaborations between hearing and deaf artists to happen, and that CODA is indeed a part of a vanguard of movies that together hopefully are creating a movement for true inclusion. So thank you, Sundance. I feel very honored and grateful.
Siân, that was absolutely beautiful. Many congratulations. It was incredible for my first festival in the director's chair to have CODA on opening night. So thank you and congratulations to all of your amazing cast and crew. So hello everybody, I am Tabitha Jackson, and I'm director of the Sundance Film Festival. And as a visual description, I'm a British woman of Nigerian descent and of a certain age. I am wearing a polite mohawk and a Kenyan print dress, and carrying excess baggage under my eyes from watching so many films for the festival, and also carrying excess baggage around my waist from eating potato chips while I watch so many films for the festival. Amber and Alison, thank you so much for your incredible American Sign Language interpretation. It is such a vital connection. And what Siân just said about the wire running between two poles and connecting, beautiful. I think that was Jack originally, so thank you. Either Alison or Amber, would you do me the favor of doing the sign for Sundance? It's so beautiful. And so I'm just going to say it a couple more times. Sundance. 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 So great. Thank you. Thank you for indulging me. Right. So the next section of our Vanguard ceremony tonight, I'm absolutely delighted to be celebrating our next Vanguard recipient, Ahmir Questlove Thompson, drummer, DJ, producer, director, culinary entrepreneur, and New York Times bestselling author. Ahmir Questlove Thompson is the heartbeat of Philadelphia's most influential hip-hop group, The Roots. He's the musical director for The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon, where The Roots serve as the house band. Questlove executive produced the documentary series Hip Hop, The Songs That Shook America on AMC under his production company 215 Entertainment. And the reason we are here tonight is that he made his directorial debut, what an absolute show off, with the feature documentary Summer of Soul, where, as Michelle said, it was awarded the Grand Jury Prize and Audience Award for Best US Documentary, as well as breaking the record for the highest selling documentary to come out of Sundance. And if that's not enough, he is also set to direct an upcoming feature documentary on Sly Stone. I can't wait to see that. You better submit it to the festival. Actually, Ahmir, before we go any further, I've got something I need to get off my chest. So would you just watch this clip, audience?
Yeah, and so Tabitha Jackson's sort of like, she's from the UK, and she has like a really strong, like Monty Python, Robin Leach accent. So she's like really milking it on like, Ahmir, I just want to announce to you that you have won Sundance Audience and like she's like a Muppet, like really excited. And I'm like, she's announcing
and
to me
you're trying to get over a snowbank in your Crocs.
Dude, all I know, that's what I'm saying is that she was like, how do you feel? And like, I didn't know that we entered, like, wait, I won something? It was like Publishers Clearinghouse. That's how she announced it.
You may have won.
And my only takeaway was literally like, damn, yo, like wearing Crocs in January was a really bad idea.
Yeah.
So that's.
All right, so Ahmir, I think I need to bring you on camera just for a second because we got to talk about that clip. If you are anywhere near your camera, as opposed to sitting on the naughty step, reflecting on what you did, you said Robin Leach, Monty Python, and then Muppet. The Muppet stung.
I was trying to go for the strongest accent. I was just trying to explain how strong your accent was. I love the way you say my name. I love that. Now, everyone I know addresses me with the strongest H in the middle of my name. Ahmir.
Oh, I'm so, okay. So who says cinema doesn't have social impact? I'm glad. Made my little change in the world. Yeah.
How are you?
If I am in a Muppet, which Muppet am I? And if you say Big Bird, we are so over.
You're the best Muppet. You're fuzzy. You're Grover.
Thank you so much. You may now go off camera for a second while I introduce Dee Reeves. Thank you, Ahmir. Bless you for that. And of course, I was delighted that you said my name on television. Right. So back to our program. Dee Reeves, what an extraordinary artist and person. And Dee is currently in London, so it's stupid o'clock in the morning, but she wanted to do this. Dee Reeves is an Oscar and Emmy nominated filmmaker known for her unflinching and bold character portrayals. Her first 3 films, Pariah, Bessie, and Mudbound, Mudbound just extraordinary, had an extraordinary effect on me when I saw it. Earned the writer, director, enthusiastic, sweeping, critical praise and dozens of major awards. Her Academy Award nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay for Mudbound made her the first ever African-American woman to be nominated in that category. Most recently, she directed the political thriller, The Last Thing She Wanted, based on the novel by Joan Didion. And in June of this year, Dee became the first ever African-American woman to have a film in the prestigious Criterion Collection with her first film, Pariah. I have to say, that is a reflection on Dee's talent and also on the unfortunate state of some of our industries. It's wonderful that African-American artists are being recognized, but maybe could have happened a little time before. Anyway, I digress. Dee Rees is an amazing person. We are very lucky to have her here. Please welcome the 2017 Vanguard Award winner, Dee Rees.
Hey, Tabitha, thanks for that introduction. I really appreciate it. And thanks to Sundance for having me back. So I'm gonna try to take the talk slow note very, very, seriously, because I know I can fly sometimes. By way of visual description, I'm a deeply brown woman, like an earth brown woman with kinky curly hair stuffed into a big red hat with a black shirt in a dark room with like gray nondescript paint. So that's the scene. But Ahmir, I just wanted to say, it's such a huge honor to have this conversation with you. As I've told you before, I've been an admirer of yours for such a long time. You had me at the bagpipes, on Do You Want More? Like that caused me to lose my first college bet. And, just from your virtuoso musicianship, you've always been a storyteller. So to get to watch you storytell with imagery and visuals, I think it's just been exciting. And it's just an honor for me to even get to see your work in this medium. So thank you so much for making Summer of Soul. Congratulations on your very well-deserved Vanguard Award, and welcome back.
I am here. Hello, how are you? How you doing? Great
Good.
to talk to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, one of the many things I loved about your film, one of the things that really stuck out from like frame one was this kind of like sense of like Afro eclecticism. It's like you got dudes in bucket hats, you got church ladies in dresses, there's a dude in a sombrero, there's a dude in a Kango hat in a tree, there's like 9-year-old girls dancing. And so, I just loved how this festival and the filmmaking really mirrored the community, in which it's set. And I just, I think that kind of feeling is like perfectly kind of encapsulated in this first clip that we're going to show that we're going to play. So we'll like have a chat about it like afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you.
At the audience, you could see the change in the scene as it was happening. There would still be people in silken wool and shark skin, but you would see the bell bottoms, the cut-off shirts.
You saw platform shoes, hip huggers, men wearing no shirt and leather vests. It was hip, it was real hip.
At that time, Harlem was a melting pot of Black style. When we got into the late 60s, there was a new movement, Afrocentric.
It's a revolution, style revolution, cultural revolution. We found that the African styles just suit us better.
I can remember dashikis. Everybody had a dashiki. I think I had a dashiki.
Now, the dashiki is an adaptation of an African piece. What we mean when we say dashiki is freedom. So it's a freedom suit. I can move in any direction. I never am attacked.
The hair was the biggest change. Afros.
My generation say it looks nice. The older generation thinks it's ridiculous.
The three of us, me, Yvonne, and Cleety, we all had our natural dues. We couldn't wait to get our hair napped.
Black people who, unfortunately, was born in this country are trying to establish our identity. This is just about all we have left to identify ourselves as.
That festival brought in the different cultures, Caribbean, Afrocentric, all the Latin and Cuban.
Yeah, so I mean that clip, like in itself, just encapsulates how like Black musical expression becomes kind of like the nexus for like this activism, spiritualism, like style, language, dance. I wonder if you could like speak to that, because this film is not just a concert film; it's a film that's layered with all these kind of like many ideas and things, and even like has political, you know, significance. And so I wonder if you could talk about, as a director, your approach to the structuring of the film, and you know. In music, pacing, tone, and connection are all things that you do with notes, but here you did with images. So I wonder how you do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm very happy to be here. In line with everyone else, as a newly as a new lover of the audio description, I am a Black man with a fuzzy afro, wearing all black right now. I'm sorry, ever since Stevie Wonder explained to me what audio description was, now I watch everything with audio description. So this is right on point for me. To answer your question, you know, I came of age growing up in a household with about 3,000 records. And I also grew up in a household where the law was, don't touch my stereo. So as a result, for the first 12 years of my life, I was forced to listen to what they wanted to listen to. I mean, sometimes I could listen to what I wanted to listen to, but you know, I want to dispel the myth that, you know, I just came out into the world as this all-knowing Oz of music. So the first 12 years of my life, you know, I was frowning when they're putting on John Coltrane and, you know, Les McCann and Miles Davis and all this jazz stuff and whatnot. And, you know, strange thing happens when I turned 17. I discovered the group Public Enemy. And this is sort of what connects me and my producer, Joseph Patel, is the fact that, you know, both my producer and I met each other 25 years ago when Joseph Patel was an editor, was a writer for Rap Pages magazine. And I was doing my first cover story. So our love of music was shared. And, you know, I grew up listening to Public Enemy, and the way that Public Enemy creates their music was sort of, it's the culinary version of like goulash or just stew, where you just throw everything in but the kitchen sink. It's Jackson Pollock just throwing paint up against the canvas and see what happens. That was Public Enemy. They, you know, they said that they wanted to be music's worst nightmare. So, you know, they would throw in James Brown for the drums, and then the Commodores for some scratching, and then, you know, Marva Whitney for a sound bite, and then they would go to Malcolm X for a sound bite, and then they would go to the Blackbirds and the Beatles, and like all of these groups that were in the boring part of my family collection suddenly like came alive to me, because I recognized how it was being used. And, you know, every project I've ever done, especially musically, I think I always start off saying, okay, this is going to be my Public Enemy tribute thing, you know, because I always wanted to create something that would have made 17-year-old Ahmir stop in his tracks the way that Ahmir felt when he first heard Public Enemy's second album. That album was called It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. So I guess in the beginning, I thought I was going to just make and curate a very simple 15-song set list. And, you know, a funny thing happened once we got to the pandemic. Like, we started packing more information. And it was necessary to do that because it wasn't lost on us that what we were editing was also what was happening to us in real time last year. And that was the only, even like I had the music and the artists to connect to older audiences, like baby boomers, Gen X, some millennials, older millennials born in like 79, 80, 81, 82. They were going to understand and get where I was coming from. But for those like born in, you know, the mid 90s and whatnot, that don't have a connection to who David Ruffin was besides, you know, the nobody's coming to see you, Otis meme from the internet. You know, finally, I had something that would connect them. And that was the fact that they're living in the times. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like it was planned that way. It just wound up being this way. Like, I felt it was important to show that we were literally mirroring and imitating, not imitating, but we were paralleling 69, 70 and 2019, 20, you know, together. So that's why the movie wound up this way. And it also doesn't hurt to have, you know, Josh Pearson is a monster of an editor. I mean, he's a musician first, so he really got where I was coming from. And every edit had to be musically done. There was a musical rhythmic feng shui to all of our editing. So yeah, that's my long stretched out answer to a very simple question.
No, it's amazing. I think, and also, like, not only does the film connect us to this particular time, but it's really also about geography and the way it connects us to this place. Like, I lived down the street from Montmartre Park for how long? And there's always been music there every summer. I had no idea that this was like this was the event that kind of like made it this hallowed ground, you know? So it's like, oh, this is why the park is the way it is. It felt like this kind of like spirit there. And like, I didn't understand until seeing your film why. And also in terms of geography, you know, you have like singers from, you have like St. Louis, Fifth Dimension, up against like San Francisco, you know, Edwin Hawkins singing Oh Happy Day, up against like Chicago, the Staple Singers. And so it really kind of gets into how this music transcends geography. And also I really, the other kind of theme that I wanted to ask you about, it seems to explore, or this question about genre and like, what is the use of genre in the creation or discovery of artists? Is it just something that's there for the commodification of it in a way, right? Because you have like, you know, Daddy Staples supposedly singing gospel, but it really sounds like hill country blues.
Right.
And you have like funk, and you have then like Sly, who's just like doing some futuristic, you know, and then you have like, you know, like the jazz. So it's like, how do you feel about genre?
You know, it's weird. On my podcast, I had Raphael Sadiq on about 2.5 weeks ago. And we were discussing the tag neo soul. And the one thing that I knew about that tag was that everyone that was associated with it, and I'm talking about the Erykah Badu's, the D'Angelo's, the Commons, the Lauryn Hills, the Roots, whoever, like every interview I've ever seen of them, Jill Scott, Angie Stone, whomever, like, it's like they go above and beyond the call of duty to like disassociate themselves with that title. And, you know, we know for the most part that, you know, titles are made up by non-creatives. They're made up by, you know, the CEOs of labels and, you know, the A&R guy who is a mountain climber who plays an electric guitar, like that sort of thing. But then again, it's also like, I'm the guy who will make a pilgrimage to Jerry's Records in Pittsburgh, a place that holds 400,000 records. And when I want to find a Gentle Giant album, it's really going to frustrate me if the entire record store is alphabetized. And it's almost like, hey, could you point me out to the prog rock section? So it's almost like I just see the tagging of genres halfway. I mean, as a music collector, I see the tagging of genres as just a quick paraphrase for me to get closer to the product that I want. I also know that these genres were also committed and invented as code speak. When we say pop, you're really saying white artists. It was rhythm and blues, and I don't know, is Chris Brown rhythm and blues? Like I remember once Billboard started calling it just the black charts in the late 80s. It was just the black chart. So on one hand, it's insulting to categorize something, especially in terms of that category coming from non-creatives. But then I'm also the guy that sort of eschews, like, I'm not affected by what people call something, because I think real music lovers just know what it is. And so
I think your film just kind of like challenges that, because soul feels like such an apt descriptor. It's like music that makes your soul lift, and it's the audience, is receiving it, coming from all different parts. And then,
absolutely. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, it would be fun if we started talking about music like wines. Like, I would like a vocal forward, punchy something with like a melodic bass line, It's like, oh,
right.
We're looking for, and then you could name any other artist, who like fits that.
Well, I think every 20 years, there's a paradigm shift, and there is a new generation that will define, what the standard is. And so, and right now, like, we're in the precipice. I think we're damn near at the end of describing things, and, as much as people my age in a toxic way, in a lazy way, are struggling with having definitions of things, be it music genres, be it our sex, I suspect that by 2040, when I'm 69 years old, this won't even be an issue anymore. It'll be very interesting to truly live in a time period in which nothing is defined, but everything's sort of omni-existence. Like, that sounds like a utopian atmosphere. I wish I was of a younger age to witness that reality.
Which was like one of the refreshing things about the subjects you chose to speak on the film. It felt like, it was people who were scholars, but they were appreciators of the form. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little about your style as a director and like the interviews, because it sounds like, I love the way you let them like watch the footage and react. And so you got this kind of honest kind of reaction. And then you sound like you're far away, but I can't tell if you're in the room, but just like, I want to speak to your style.
It's weird. I didn't realize that we inadvertently, I think it was Joseph that said, wow, like, we've turned this film into When Harry Met Sally, like, especially with Billy Davis and Marilyn McCoo. It was really, I knew we had something special. but I thought from a technical standpoint, it might be a nightmare to try to figure out a way to show them the footage as they're watching it to get a genuine reaction and whatnot. And then right when we were about to do away with the idea, I think, Joseph brought up that, well, we are going to need a monitor on set just to, juggle their memory a little bit. I remember in the beginning, it's funny, like all of the emotional high points of the film really weren't planned. I'm world famous for dismissing things that could actually be a staple or the heart of the film. I remember when Musa Jackson, our first interview and our last interview, came in the room, I instantly had doubts, man. I was just like, this guy looks like he's like 47 years old. This guy looks like he was born in 1973. Like, there's no way that he remembers any of this stuff. And, we're looking at his ID and it's like, okay, it says he's 57. I know black don't crack, but this guy looks younger than I do. And I just didn't know if he had, I didn't know if a 5-year-old really had emotional depth to say anything of importance that we could have used in the film. Like, is he going to talk about, the comedy of Picnic Markham or something, like back in 1940 or something? Anyway, so, we kind of purposely held back showing him any file footage or anything, any photos. We just wanted to cold talk to him to see what he remembered. And again, I had my doubts, and he was our very first interview, so I didn't know what to expect. And he just started talking, and he was everything was a bullseye. Like, he accurately described everything that he remembered. He told us this was his very first childhood memory. And towards the end of that, we just so happened that we just got lucky and had the fifth dimension footage ready. It was like, thank God he mentioned that, because that's like the one reel that it took like 5 months to process all that footage. And when he looked at that footage, it floored him in a way that even I wasn't expecting, because I didn't realize how important it was for people to just validate their existence. You know what I mean? That's when I realized, like, oh, we're giving him his life back. And so I was unaware that the cameras were still rolling. Like, I was sitting next to the camera and I thought they were, changing cards or whatnot. And it's just like, hey man, great job, thank you. And I just told him, like, yo man, watching you watch this is like really overwhelming me. We just started talking. Thank God the cameras were rolling, because I just thought we were just having a casual conversation. In the case of Marilyn McCoo, when she and Billy Davis are watching the footage, I guess of all the acts on the show, I sort of felt a kinship with them, because code switching is real. Like, a lot of the white people in my life are just learning that term from when, like, Black people use the term code switching. Mm-hmm. And that's, where you have this chameleon-like ability to sort of switch your language, your attitude. And, a friend of mine said that, every Black person comes on earth equipped with 2 languages. We talk Ebonics, and then we talk job interview. And
exactly,
and that's so real. And the one thing I noticed when we were all watching the footage together, I was like, wow, I'm such a fan of the Fifth Dimension and Billy Davis and Marilyn McCoo. I was like, I've never seen Billy Davis like yelp or do a gospel growl or say sock it to me or dance with kids, or like none of those things, because when you're on the Ed Sullivan Show, when you're on Bandstand, when you're on the Tonight Show, especially in the late 60s, like, you weren't allowed to be yourselves. You had, Motown sent all those acts to charm school to teach them how to not appear to be too scary to the American society that was going to slowly let them in the door one person at a time. And when I asked that question, I instantly knew I touched on a sensitive subject. And, I told them, like, yo, I went through that myself. Like, the amount of anxiety I had because, tonight we're opening for the Beastie Boys. So that audience isn't like playing with, Method Man and Redman the other night. It's like one night you got a show for the Lauryn Hill crowd. And then the next night you got to figure out how to entertain System of a Down's crowd. And that's pretty much the anxiety of serving both worlds. It's tiresome sometimes, and it can make you break down that way. So that's really where that was coming from for her. And I saw that in myself. And so, thank God we caught that, because I just thought I was doing a side comment,
No, it was really effective because like Musa like breaks down and is like, it's like he almost thought it was a dream. He's like, thank you for like saying that my memory was like a real thing. And with the Fifth Dimension, like Marilyn McCool, like they're like, we were so happy to play in front of Black people, to play in Harlem, to be accepted. Yeah. They got their fringe jackets on, doing Age of Aquarius, and it's like, okay, well, so it was just like this great kind of like, coming home for them. So
yeah, even the way that I framed it in when I first put out a social media alert about this film, the first thing I asked, because even like no one believed, and that was always the thing, like no one believed that this happened. Like it was like the little boy that cried wolf. And that's how I framed it on social media. I was like, hey, do you have like that crazy uncle or crazy aunt that swears that they saw Stevie Wonder and the Staple Singers in the same weekend and blah, 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 like that person that won't shut up about this thing that never happened. I didn't even believe that it happened, and I'm directing this project. So imagine how they felt,
Exactly. Yeah. And like that's the other thing that I love that your film gets into in like a really smart way. It gets into cultural capital, right? And who has it. And so although when you look at this lineup, it's clearly this event, this community has a wealth of cultural capital. The thing that got the spotlight was like Woodstock and how this thing was actively suppressed. And so as a filmmaker, how did you make the decision? Because the feeling you're left with is like, I felt is like pure, just like uplift and like beauty and like alive. And you could have easily taken like a different tone, and it could have been all about here's how this thing got squashed. Like, how did you as a filmmaker, like look at the footage and like decide the tonality and like, guide it,
I mean, that was heavy on my mind at the time when we first started, doing the interview process. Prince, before he passed away, was just working on his autobiography, and he only got through 4 or 5 chapters. And one of the things that Prince spoke about, he was trying to dispel the myth that, that he didn't come from a broken home. So he wanted to tell a fuzzy story about him and his dad having a father and son moment. And he talks about his dad taking him to see Woodstock when he's 11 years old, and how much that moment, seeing Woodstock, created Prince. He's sitting there as an 11-year-old watching this, and he's like, yo, that's what I want to do with my life. And he does it. And, I know, and I've tried to wrestle with this, and, someone say like, well, you're just making excuses. I was trying to think like, okay, if I'm an executive in 1971 and Hal Tolson's like knocking at my door saying, yo, we have all these acts, like, what would I think? And I thought, well, the thing is that all these acts were on the precipice of something big. They were, Stevie Wonder he was just 3 years away from jackpot. The Staple Singers were 4 years away from jackpot, and Sly and the Family Stone was actually 10 days away from jackpot, because this was a dress rehearsal for Woodstock. And the day after that, that's when Sly's life absolutely changes, you know? And, you know, I was thinking like, well, maybe it was like a clearance problem, or maybe, I mean, the true answer is that, you know, sometimes the Black narrative is just that easily disposable, as if it wasn't there. That, I mean, that's the short answer. But, you know, this can also serve as a reminder. I know that often with hip hop and with soul music and whatnot, we always tend to champion the winner. It's always the winner circle, you know, the person who has the best narrative of winning. Even like most of the narratives in rap is like, I won, you know. And yeah, it's important to celebrate being alive and beating the system. You know, that's why we celebrate, you know, renegades and vanguards and those who buck the system, because winning is such an important part of the narrative. But, you know, you also have to celebrate and also nurture those who aren't there yet. You know what I mean? Like Miles Davis didn't come out the gate a genius, you know. There was a big period in the 40s in which Miles was struggling to find his creative place. You know, the same for Prince. It took Prince 5 albums to really find his stride. It took the Roots 4 albums to find their stride. So, you know, for me, that's the bigger lesson, that this film was saved by the skin of its teeth. And I still feel as though the potent magic of it can still happen right now, 50 years out the gate. But, you know, this goes to show you that in the times that we live in, it's so easy just to cheat on your neighbor's paper, to see who's hot right now so that you can look cool because you're listening to the hot thing. But, you know, I for one, I do not believe that, you know, art is dead or music is dead. And people ask me all the time, like, whatever happened to music? Like, there's a lot of artists out there that are just dope that just don't get the proper spotlight. So, you know, I hope that this is a lesson for them as well. Like, there are, and those acts that are like 4th or 5th on the Broccoli Festival or on Coachella, those not in the top part of the poster, lurking at the bottom. Yeah, those are the future geniuses of the world.
Totally. All right. I went way over time. I just like want to hear everything you have to say. So I gotta, I mean, I just wanted to say, first of all, do you want more? I don't know, like Philadelphia Half-Life, that was pretty much, you know, out the gate. And if you ever want to do a 12-hour lecture on Concerto of the Desperado, please sign me up for that. But,
thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations on this very well-deserved Vanguard Award.
And I'm honored to talk to you too. I'm a fan of your work. Like everything that you've done. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Thank you so much. And one of the things I love about you, as I said, is that the way you move in the world is that you're an artist and you're a scholar. And I think that scholarship showed up in this film. It showed up during the pandemic in your sessions. I took notes. It showed up in Creative Quest. And as Mavis Staples says, it's all in this film and there's a lot to love about it and all of it is good. So congratulations. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Wow, what an absolutely extraordinary conversation. Soulful, and that's what happens when you get 2 artists of this caliber, socially engaged, curious, interested, knowledgeable, that we could go from code switching to cultural capital to Afro eclecticism to Coltrane. Amazing, thank you. We have waiting, and I'm sure listening to all of that and enjoying it, the man who is going to present the Vanguard Award to Ahmir. Common is an artist, actor, author, activist, and with a storied career spanning 3 decades, his work has been recognized with numerous Grammy Awards, as well as Emmys and an Academy Award for the song Glory, which he co-wrote and performed with John Legend. In September of this year, he released his latest album, A Beautiful Revolution, Part 2, through Loma Vista Recordings. Another incredible talent who has joined us to celebrate the artistry of Siân and Ahmir. Please welcome Common.
Peace and good evening to everyone. It's an incredible honor for me to be here amongst you all, and amongst you to actually celebrate someone who I love, adore, is not only one of my greatest friends and that I've met through this beautiful music and artistic world, but is also one of the greatest leaders and visionaries and talents that I've ever been around. It's funny, as I was listening to Dee and Ahmir talk, I thought about how it's never a conversation that I've had with Ahmir, with Questlove, where I don't learn something or I don't actually go start trying to do research to find out what the hell he was talking about, because he's just that brilliant. You know, I've been a fan of Ahmir since the roots, and he'll tell you a story maybe at some point in life where I tried to shun the roots, but it was all out of my immaturity. But they were always a group that I was inspired by. And when I got to build a friendship and actually join, you know, the group as friends and be around them, it was Ahmir who really kind of set the tone for me to know that I could be better, I can grow. He actually, in participating on his album, one of the first times I got directed in music was him telling me to rhyme on beat on a song I did called Love of My Life with them. Right? And it was like his directing abilities that got me to actually be on the right rhythm on that. And to this day, he still has coached me and directed me in so many ways. It's when I think about Ahmir, Questlove, it's like this is someone who will go down in history as the Quincy Jones, a Spike Lee, a Miles Davis, maybe even a Maurice White without the singing, from Earth, Wind and Fire, because he is, the centerpiece of one of the greatest groups to ever do music. But essentially, he's going down as one of the greatest artists, talents to ever grace this planet. And his soul comes through in everything that he does. You know, when I talk about him inspiring me, it was it was me seeing the Roots get a Grammy and them bringing me on stage that made me know I could actually get to that level. So now seeing him direct this incredible film, and let me say, when I saw this film, I was watching Summer of Soul. I was like, I can't believe I know the person that did this. Like, this is amazing. And I just had to, I watched it over. And when I really love something, I tell everybody about it. So I was telling everybody that, have you seen Summer of Soul? Have you seen Summer of Soul? And it took someone, and only Ahmir could be the person who really would have channeled this type of film that was dealing with something as incredible as all the artists we see at this performance over these course of weekends. But he took that and elevated it to even something greater, because from watching the film, you get to see the story of Black love and Black people celebrating themselves and how colorful we are as Black people. And he actually gave a jolt of joy in a time where we needed it more than ever, at a time where Blackness was being discussed, but he kind of shined a light on it in a beautiful way and gave people a chance to see the beauty of Blackness. And so to see him receiving this Vanguard Award is something that's it's like one of those moments where, man, this is somebody I love and is my brother, and I know it's inspiring for me. And I just feel like he's just so worthy and so gifted and has done so much for so many people, from a director standpoint, but just from a visionary producer, and has always been the culprit behind putting things together and elevating them and taking them to the next level. So I can't say I was surprised that his feature film was one of the greatest doc films that I've seen, and will go down in history, but it is. And, you know, I'm just grateful to be able to introduce him and introduce him as a film director, because we know him as so many other things, and I know him as a friend, but I'm just happy to see him now using this medium of storytelling as a director. And I can't wait to continue to see what he does. You know, I know he's doing the sly doc. We doing it, but I just can't wait to see what he continues to do. But I'm celebrating him, and we're celebrating him now for getting this Vanguard Award. I want y'all to welcome back Questlove, Ahmir Questlove Thompson. Oh, and I want to apologize. I didn't introduce myself audio-wise. I'm the bald-headed guy with beard. and I don't know, this color, you know, this thing is, I don't know how to describe this kind of paisley type of blue-purple shirt. Yeah, but I love you, Ahmir. Congratulations, brother.
Man, Rosh, thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate this. Again, you know, I'm trying to between my mother and my girlfriend sort of doing the collective eye roll, like, will you stop this all geez, all shucks thing? But you know, it's weird though. It's weird, and I'm just speaking from the heart right now. It's so weird because you know, as a musician, and people that are familiar with my story and whatnot know like how much music plays a role in my life. Like I am so with music. It's every aspect of it. I'm familiar with, but because I'm taking a leap of faith into a medium that I have no experience in, which is film, you know, I don't know what to expect. You know, like when I create an album, I dream about the record review. I wonder about if Grammy nominations are in. I wonder like how many spins it got this week on the radio, and like all those things that those algorithms you worry about. And, you know, every day I wake up and then it's just some new surprise. And, you know, even with the way that, you know, Tabitha announced that we won Sundance, like I didn't even know that. Like for me, I was just like, wow, I just want to create something. Had I still been teaching at NYU, I was teaching at NYU for about 4 years. And I was like, I want to create something that I would have showed my students when I was at NYU. Common, thank you thank you very much for presenting this. I mean, bro, we go back so long. You helped me buy my first, I brought my house already, but you helped me buy my mother's house. And I like to also thank you for not listening to me when I told you that, you know, that song, The Light, I Hate It. You shouldn't put that on the record. Yes, that's when I produced that record and we were like, okay, let's get rid of the weak links. So I was like, I'm not feeling the light, man. Let's get rid of that song. And they fought me tooth and nail, but I digress. Anyway, I want to thank, you know, first of all, I want to thank Sundance Institute and Tabitha, and I love the way you say my name, Ahmir. Thank you. I'm also geeking out. Congrats to Siân Heder, and I'm still geeking out over Marley Matlin. Man, just so incredible to see that moment. I'd like to thank my producers, Robert Fiolent, David Dinnerstein, Joseph Patel. I'm sorry, I did not believe you guys when you tried to tell me about this concert. You know, I thought they were just trying to, you know, talk their way into the Tonight Show. I didn't believe them. I want to thank the family at Radical, anyone that worked on this film, you know, that gave their efforts and their tireless efforts to a first-time driver. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank everyone in the chat. I see my good friend from 4th grade, Danny G, alumnus of Alvin Ellie, like such a legend in the chat room. My family, my 215 family, Tariq Trotter, Sean G, Zara Zolman, I love you guys to death, and I thank you for your patience and your hard work. I want to especially thank Tony Lawrence for daring to dream, to have the audacity to dream of such an event could take place. And I would like to thank Hal Tolson for putting it all together and organizing it. I know that in both of your lifetimes, your dream of seeing this reach the world, it wasn't able to happen while you were on Earth on this plane. But I believe in an afterlife and an after place, and I know that that you two must be happy that this finally got out there and that it's healing a lot of people and working in the world. Just everyone involved in the project, I really thank you guys. I want to just create great art. Oh, I want to thank, my family also. My mother's watching this, and my sister, and Gracie, I love you so much. Thank you for, getting me out of my head. Thank you for introducing meditation to me and the value of science, silence and science, although science too, the value of silence and really just channeling my heart and creating something from inside of my heart and giving it to the world. And thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. What an extraordinary evening it has been. Congratulations to both of you, to Siân and to Ahmir. Thank you for your films. Thinking about language, the musical language, the cinematic language, the spoken language, the language of ASL. What you've done has been extraordinary in terms of meaning making. Your films are part of the cultural conversation. They will help write the future we want to live in. So from the best Muppet, you heard it here first, I want to thank everyone who participated in tonight's program: Radha Blank, Marley Matlin, Dee Reese, and Common, my dear colleague, Michelle Satter, and to you, our wonderful, chatty, appreciative audience. Thanks for being here with us. It was such a privilege to celebrate these filmmakers and their artistry. And again, thank you to Acura, Variety, Apple Original Films, and Onyx Collective, Searchlight Pictures, and Hulu. It takes a village. If you haven't already, we encourage you to watch CODA on Apple TV Plus and Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, on Hulu. Man, both of these films take many, many viewings. They're wonderful. Know also that we have recorded tonight's celebration for all who couldn't be with us live, and you'll be able to find it on the Sundance Institute YouTube channel on Friday. And now, just a last note, forgive me, but we're a nonprofit organization, and Sundance Institute relies on supporters like you who share a commitment to nurturing new artists, supporting unique and diverse creative voices, and furthering the reach of independent fiction and non-fiction films. But maybe after today's conversation with Dee and Ahmir, we don't need to describe them in that way. They're just films, experiences. Generous donations, even ungenerous donations, provide crucial funds to support our year-round programs for artists, helping fund our labs, grants, mentorships, and other critical resources to empower the next generation of artists, and my bar bill. We have a QR code up on the screen that will take you to a website to be able to donate online, should you be moved, should the spirit move you. And we are grateful for all your support. And if you don't have the resources, we're grateful for your attention and for championing work like this. Tell everybody to see these films and their other work. And as we're 3 months out from the start of the 2022 Sundance Film Festival, oh my God, we hope that you will join us in person in Utah or from wherever you are online to be a part of this thing, which is an extraordinary moment where we gather around artists and their work and understand what meaning they are making. So visit festival.sundance.org to create an account and be among the first to get information about the program, tickets, and more. So thank you. Stay safe and healthy, stay indie, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.